And what I did was I became kind of like their first franchise owner. So I ran almost all of York region. Essentially, I had like a lot of different areas. At one point, I think at the peak in 2021, I had like 30 employees total. It was like 8 crews.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into Business and Beyond. If you are new here, welcome to the show, and if you're returning, thank you for coming back. Today's guest is Aaron Mansoor, a Windows salesman who started his journey with College Pro. From cleaning windows to having upwards of 30 employees, Aaron is an inspiring young entrepreneur, and this podcast is a very fun one to film as well, so I hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Business and Beyond, the podcast where we highlight local businesses and learn about their successes. My name is Brian Braga. I am your host, and today we are joined by Aaron Mansoor. Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. For the audience, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourselves, what you do, what you used to do, what you did to get here? Like, what are you all about?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Aaron. I started, my career during university. I started a window cleaning franchise with a company called College Pro. And while I was doing business school, every summer I would hire students and I would clean windows and had customers, and it was a pretty cool experience. Eventually, I did that full time after graduating. After a few years, I scaled it up as large as I could, and then I sold the business in the end. Now what I do is I actually sell windows, funny enough. So I'm still in the industry. I sell these windows for a company called Magic. They're these like really high performance windows, small family run business out in Woodbridge, Ontario, Canadian made. Fantastic business that's been around since 1979, and fantastic windows too. And clients of mine love it because it's like, listen, I was cleaning windows for 8 years and now I sell the best windows there are. So
yeah.
And when I'm not doing that, I am really into personal development. I've got a YouTube channel that I try to do to document some of the things that I learn, whether that's, health related or skills or business, and that's in entrepreneurship and coaching. That's kind of what I'm about.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for that introduction. And for those who don't know as well, Aaron on his YouTube, he's currently documenting 75 hard like a madman. I've debated doing that challenge so many times, but I feel like if I got into it, I'd have the willpower, but I feel like it's so daunting where I don't. And I feel like that really tells a lot about you as a person.
Well, thank you. I'm on day 52 right now. And so if I finish this will be the second time I've ever completed it. I've definitely attempted it maybe 10, 15 times. So if that tells you anything, it's a tough challenge, but worth trying. You should try it.
I didn't even realize you did it once already. I thought this was your first run through.
This is my second. I didn't document the first one. I took pictures, of course, as part of the challenge. But I when I was doing 75 hard the second time, before I did it, I was like, you know what? This would be a really good way to flex the creative muscle. I'm like, let's just make a YouTube short video every day on the 75 hard challenge. I will say, though, it's pretty funny because I do a lot of outdoor walks, low impact, just like I'm not a big like runner, And so it's hard to actually make outdoor walks, creative every day, like different. So that's been a challenge, is like for 52 days in a row, like how can I make an outdoor walk like somewhat entertaining, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Have you found anything different between the first time you've done it, like compared to the second? Like what made you decide to do it a second time? And I guess you've tried it 15, but like considering you've already completed it once, so like where you're just like, were the results that substantial where you're like, oh, if I did this again, I'd be an even further better person than I was before?
Definitely. Like, I think you start to feel past day 30, like day 45, you start to feel like the most like optimal version of yourself, like super clear, super just, you've been sober for so long.
Yeah.
You're not eating junk food. You're working out twice a day. You're going outside. Like, I definitely felt like peak human performance.
Yeah.
And I think what was tough about my first time, it was really daunting, really tough. And sometimes you're up late, chugging water, doing an outdoor workout at like 2 a.m. because you had stuff to do that day. And like those days are brutal. And then you get caught in that cycle of like going to bed late, waking up early for work, and then having to stay up late again to do the next workout.
Yeah.
But after the challenge, I felt the best I've ever felt. And over time, the bad habits start to slip in, right? You start eating junk food and, you start staying up late again, stop drinking water. And so over time I felt, hey, I want to get back to that space I was in and hopefully make this a lifelong change and not actually fall back into those habits. So that's why I decided to do it a second time. I mean, like I said, I've attempted it a bunch of times. I don't know the exact number's 15, but it's definitely not 2.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. Sweet. Well, that's a great insight into 75 hard there. Circling back to the window industry, just because I know you mentioned you found College Pro while you were in university, and you said you were studying business. Did you always see yourself getting into like a sales position or getting into the place where you were in the window industry? Like how did you line up to be to where you are right now?
It's actually it's really funny how it happened. Like I always wanted to be a business owner. My dad was, my grandfather was, it's just like something my family's always been about, like entrepreneurship. And I always figured I would run a business in some time. So I went to school for business, majored in like marketing, consumer behavior, which I only picked that because it sounded like the easiest one to do, right? But I was in an econ lecture of my second semester, January of 2015. And it's usually an econ lecture that I skip. For some reason, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm in the front of the class because I came in late. And there's a person that came, her name is Jessica. Shout out Jessica. She, a good friend of mine, and she came to the class just to speak on this opportunity. She's like, hey, run a business for the summer, have employees, get clients, learn all these skills, make good money, sign your name up on the sheet if you're interested in getting a call. So I signed my name up. I got a call. And at that time I'd been a summer, camp counselor for a few seasons in a row. So that's kind of what I was going to do again. And she asked me, what are you planning on doing next summer? I was like, yeah, I'll probably just, run it back, go back to camp, be a counselor. And she's like, well, you can make a lot more money doing this. And I was like, okay,
That's one
I'm
hell of a
interested.
pitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Keep going. So I guess I got into their interview process. It was really tough. It's like 3 interviews. Funny enough, they were phone call interviews, but I wore a suit.
Nice.
I figured it would translate over the phone.
Yeah.
And I think it did, definitely. Worked really hard, got the job, and so the job was a franchisee or student franchisee. So basically, you're a business owner, but you run a franchise, you own an area. So I had North York to start, kind of like McDonald's or Tim Hortons. So I had a location, and they give you a lot of teaching, development. They give you a coach. So this is a coach, is a general manager, someone who's run the business before. Usually, it's someone who's out of university but still quite young. It's still a young person helping you, which is really cool. And they're not really your boss, they're more of like a coach. And so they give you help. You ask them questions every week. There's a thing we did called get GSNR, which is goal setting and review. So each week you would put in your numbers, how many calls you make, how many sales you make, how many doors you knocked on, kind of things, how many people did you hire, how many interviews you run, just all the business stuff. And every week my coach would review what I did that week, what I have planned for next week, and we would tie it into the overall goal, like how much money we were trying to make. And that was really helpful, really beneficial to me to have someone structured, teaching you, helping you, coaching you along the way, really holding your hands.
Yeah.
And for good reason. You're an 18-year-old kid running a small part of their business. So they're putting a lot of faith in you, right? So that's where I got probably the most of my skill and development through university. Was not really taking the classes in business. It was more so running it.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the challenges come up. That's where all like the things kind of start to hit the fan.
Yeah, fair. And it sounds like they did a great job at accountability too, because GSNR or however you said it, like it seems like a weekly accountability call. And if you're weekly held accountable for the amount of calls you make, the doors you knock on, like you're destined to succeed, right? Like you're motivated and someone's on you. And it sounds like you had a great coach as well. Did you guys get a lot of your leads from door knocking, cold calling? Like, is that how you guys got a lot of your business? Like, just like
absolutely,
sweet,
yeah, absolutely. That was also what a great way to really grind the axe, right? To develop that social skill. I'm already a pretty extroverted person, very social, but after a summer of just blatant like knocking on doors all day long just to get some business, like that really teaches you a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so that was probably how we got maybe 90% of business, was just we're cleaning windows or knocking on the neighbors' doors, letting people know, hey, we run a window cleaning business, would you be interested in a quote? And so and when you get a lot of no's, which is fine, it is what it is, it's just all about sales, right?
Yeah.
Numbers. But the yeses you get and the interactions you have with the clients, and then lifelong clients too. Like I had clients that I got in my first year that I was servicing for the next 8 years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's amazing. And how did you transfer over from being a college pro franchisee to now becoming self-employed through Magic?
Yeah, it was cool because I was a student franchisee first at College Pro, and that is a lot more oversight. You have a coach, right? You did it through university, so I was working part-time. And then what I did was I became kind of like their first franchise owner. So I ran almost all of York region, essentially. I had like a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
And I would hire and train students to run divisions of my business. So I was still the franchisee. I was just not a student anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And I did that for a few years. And then after a while of really pushing it, growing the business, at one point, I think at the peak in 2021, I had like 30 employees total. It was like 8 crews, right?
Man,
each crew had 2 to 3 people. But what I started to realize in that business was, as much as I want to scale and grow it and become more profitable and have higher revenue, at the end of the day, I am still a little bit handicapped by the labor.
Yeah.
If I want to make more money, I have to hire more people, and hiring more people comes with its own challenges. And so came to a point where I started to feel a little bit like I was out of cap.
Yep.
And at that point, I started looking around, seeing, okay, I've done window cleaning for 8 years. I'm ready to kind of look at the next chapter. Happened to be looking online at different job opportunities, something to look at. And I found Magic, funny enough. And the best part about Magic was the ad really spoke to me. It was an ad for, a sales professional to work with Magic. The money looked really good, and the best part was the product. It was like, sell these high performance windows, 250 patents. Company's been around for 45 years. So I looked them up. Turns out I ended up having a small connection to the managing director through LinkedIn. So it was a third connection. Reached out to him personally. Got on a phone call. He said, "Hey, email me the resume. We'll get talking about it." Start talking with them. I thought I nailed all the interviews. And the best part, I think, why I think I nailed all the interviews was because for years prior, since I was 18, I used to interview other students for positions to work in my business. So I've been coached and trained and had like actual experience interviewing. Asking good questions, looking for certain things, skills. And to me, that was the best, I guess, learning I could get, which actually was doing interviews myself. Because then when I was being interviewed, I just knew every question what they're asking me. I knew why they were asking me those questions. I knew what I should say, right? Because every interviewer, if they're worth anything, is looking for previous behavior or examples of previous behavior to indicate future performance. Right? So essentially, when a bad interviewer is going to ask you, like, if a customer is complaining, what do you do? Because that's a hypothetical question that anyone's going to answer the same thing. I would do the best possible thing. I would tell the client, hey, listen, don't worry. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to sort it out. Like, everyone's got that same answer, right? The best interviewers are always going to be like, tell me about a time you had a challenging conversation with someone. Tell me about a time a client you were working with was upset. What did you do? People, when they speak to experience, you can kind of get a really good sense of are they actually skilled? Do they actually have experience? And so they were asking me all these questions, and I was a business owner for 8 years, right? Not only did I do sales door to door, which is a tough way to do sales, I would teach how to do sales door to door. I had, maybe 100 employees in those 8 years. Hired them myself, taught them how to do sales myself, scaled the business quite a bit. I think my biggest year, 1 year in revenue was like 330K.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. And it was a really cool interview process with Magic. They were looking for someone, to work with them as a more or less a salesperson. Again, you are still your own business. You can take days off whenever you want, and then you just charge the company. You invoice them for your commissions for every sale you do for Windows, and then you got to take the tax out of it. So I actually didn't have to change my business. I just had to change it from being a window cleaning business to a Windows sales consulting business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does. And then in terms of how you get your clients now, like, is it the same type of deal where you're going door to door, you're doing Windows, doing calls, or are you more or less like a referral business in sense of like Windows? I don't know how Windows sales works.
I mean, I think the vast majority of the industry, it's, probably they probably do that stuff. They probably do door to door. They probably do a lot of online lead generation. The best part about working with Magic, who has such a, established brand presence online, has incredible marketing and incredible product too. I should say that, like, the product really does sell itself. I don't have to do any of that. I don't do any lead generation whatsoever. Magic provides me with all the leads they get through various techniques. Like, they'll do the online stuff, they'll do the marketing, they'll fill my schedule. If my schedule's open, they'll fill it up, and I go in there and I close. That's the idea, right? And that's actually kind of the dream position to be as a salesperson, right? You don't have to do any of the lead generation. That's like the toughest part of sales. So I was like, sign me up, I'm down. Now there is benefits if you, of course, bring in your own clients, which is really cool too. And I had a big book of business of window cleaning clients, I should say, homeowners in the area. And so I was able to get a few of my old clients who needed Windows. Boom, made the connection right there.
Nice.
And they'll give you some extra for that. But realistically, I don't actually have to do any of the kind of marketing. They handle that, which is really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It really sounds like College Pro really set you up nicely to know how to build a business, and also like give you that sales skill, because sales is really a muscle that you need to build. And I didn't know much about College Pro when I was in university. I had a friend who did College Pro, Marcus, who connected me to you. I know he did College Pro as well. And from the outside perspective, I just thought he was personally just cleaning windows with like a couple of employees, but I didn't realize they gave you coaching and they also gave you like some structure and on how to run your own business. And looking back, I kind of wish I did that. I feel like that would set me up really nicely in terms of being a business owner in the future and understanding how business works and how sales works. And it would work that muscle earlier. And now I'm a bit later, 24, getting into it, which in the grand scheme of life, I'm still quite young to be a salesman as well. So it's like, I'm still early, but College Pro is actually really cool. And if anyone's listening to this and you're in university and they have College Pro, honestly, hear them out, give them a call or like sign your name on the sheet. I don't know how they're doing it these days, but
Yeah, I mean, you can even reach out to them online. Like, you can totally, talk to them. They got lots of ads out there.
yeah,
collegepro.com, I believe, is the website. But I have nothing bad to say about College Pro. They really gave me the foundation to my like future. So I owe them a lot. And I really do love it. And not
yeah,
only did they teach me, sales skills, but hiring,
yeah,
managing, client interaction, all these different skills that like people don't realize. Because I think, and maybe you have the same opinion of me. I think business is a lot like sports.
yeah.
I don't know if you play any sports, but
I do.
to me, okay, cool. Yeah, I play
Yeah,
hockey, as you can see up here, and to me, it's like learning about business in a classroom setting is one thing, right? I can teach you about hockey verbally, like or in a lecture or in a textbook, but getting on the ice and actually skating and actually playing or whatever sport you want to use as a analogy,
yeah.
it's a lot different, right?
Yeah. I fully agree. And I feel like it's really practicing. And a lot of sales training that I've attended to, it's like even when you're making cold calls, they want you to practice first. And you practice because you're going to be encountering those situations. And the more you practice, the better you play. And it's a lot like sports like that as well.
Of course, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
get out there and actually flex the muscle, right? Try it. Like, you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so if
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
making calls, you're not going to be good at making calls.
Oh, yeah. And before I got into like the mortgage role I'm in now, honestly, I hated cold calling. And I'm still not a huge fan of it. Like, I feel like a lot of people, especially relating to real estate too, they as soon as they hear anything relating to housing, they're like, "Oh, you are trying to like scorch me for my money right now." And I'm like, "Hey, no, like I'm on the mortgage end of things. Like I'm trying to help you out a little bit." And that's something that I've started to grow a little bit more, and I've changed my approach because I've gotten a couple fuck yous from people where I've learned to build, and I've honestly learned to care a little bit less too. Like even when people reject me, I'm like, it's part of the day today, rejection therapy I've been seeing on TikTok where people are just going out and intentionally getting rejected just to build that muscle of being like, yeah, it's okay to get rejected. It's okay to not get what you want. It's okay to not be 100% on what you're wanting to be, right? Or what you're wanting to get out of the day.
And I think what I find too with those kind of videos is like a lot of people are surprised when they go and do rejection therapy. They're surprised at how many people actually say yes.
Yeah.
Right? There's like a lot of business people that had, I think Tim Ferriss or someone that had this in their book, The 4-Hour Work Week, which was like, go to Starbucks and ask for a discount. Just ask, like, don't
Yeah.
say why, just ask, right? And like, you'd be surprised. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, here's 10% off. Have a good day. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Fair.
You don't ask, you don't get. And
Yeah.
and when I was teaching my employees too, like again, my employees were like 18 to 20-year-olds. And so when I would teach them, I'd say, listen, like I'm going to use this analogy, but business and sales is a lot like dating. If you don't ask for the girl's number, you don't get the girl's number. And
Yeah.
then the girl employees would laugh of mine because they get it. And then the guys would be like, you're right, Aaron. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Got to ask. Asking you shall receive.
Yeah, I feel like being bold as well is just like really one thing. It's just like being bold and asking and also having that confidence as well. It just like really puts you ahead and like uh really brings that what is it, manifestation? You're manifesting that things are going to come towards you if you're just putting it into the atmosphere.
And another thing too, to build off of that is also like, not only like is your intentions, but also just your perception of
Yeah.
sales. I talk to a lot of people who are like, I really dislike sales. It's so grimy. I'm like trying to steal people's money. And I'm like, that is such a self-limiting belief.
Yeah.
In my opinion, sales, and I think this is, true for most salespeople, at least that, know what they're doing. It's a transference of knowledge or of confidence of the
Yeah.
product, right? Like, you know a lot about mortgages. I don't know anything about mortgages,
Yeah,
right?
fair enough.
And so if you were selling me on a mortgage, you're essentially just trying to transfer me the skills, the knowledge and expertise that you have and the confidence you have in yourself and your abilities to me.
Yeah.
And that is just sales. And
Yeah.
you're helping me in a way. You're not scamming me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hope not.
Yeah.
Sure, there's scammers out there.
Yeah.
Right. But you just got to have that perception. If you really believe in the product, you believe in your service. The biggest thing I think I had to make as an adjustment for my employees was the mindset. because I told them, I said, listen, if you have full confidence, full belief in your product, and in their case, and my employees, your product is you. You're cleaning windows. If you think you could do a good job, you should have no problem selling. You don't need any of these other kind of tactics, line tracks, all these kind of different strategies. At the end of the day, if you are really confident and you believe this is going to work for someone, you're going to sell them.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And on the mortgage end of things too, like one thing my mentor tells me as well is like my product that I'm selling as well is just like me personally, like my personal brand. At the end of the day, a lot of mortgage brokers and mortgage agents, we have a lot of the same product. It doesn't matter where we really put you. We're going to be putting you where your best interest is, but where you do business is just how much you like me. Do you like me more, or do you like the next guy that's offering you a very similar product? You know, it's that's what I'm really selling people on, just me personally.
Of course, people buy from who they like and trust.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And if the price is right. Those are the kind of the two main things. If you
Yeah.
like and trust someone and the price is right, then people buy. And so what I try to teach people, or at least what I learned from College Pro, was the trust triangle. Like, how do you build trust with someone? And the trust triangle is like, a triangle, and at each corner is a C. And so the three C's of the trust is like competence, like how much do you know about what you're talking about, character, your values, who you are. And then the third C is common sense of purpose. Right?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually aligned with what the client or person you're trying to work with is trying to do?
Yeah, most definitely. Have you had any breakthrough moments in sales so far that like really gave you just a ton more confidence from when you started?
Tons. I mean, I can go on and on
Yeah.
about the different breakthroughs. I think the biggest one for me is actually so surprising to people when I talked about sales, because it's in an environment that people don't really associate sales with. I was working with one of my business coaches in my window cleaning business. This is like later on in my career when I'm hiring kind of higher level students to run sections of my business, like be my regional managers for me. And one of the things that I learned, because recruiting, for a lot of people don't realize, it's not only just like selecting good talent, but it's also selling those good talent
Yeah.
onto working with you. So there's actually a lot of sales involved with recruiting, which people don't
Hmm.
realize. And I was working with a coach, and she's watching me do an online Zoom interview. And at the end of the interview, we break it down for 30 minutes. And she goes, Aaron, you asked all the great questions. You got their needs. You got their specific likes and interests, right? You built a good rapport. And then when you're presenting them the job, you're using all the right words. You're painting the job in the way that they like it. You're framing it in a way that they get excited. But you were telling them why they should work for you. Like the whole time you were just talking. And
Mm.
so she told me, she's like, ask them the question at the time. So the next interview, what I did was I got all the information, asked them good questions, same steps, get to all
Yeah.
the needs. And then when I went on to talk about the job and go in more in depth about the role, I would say something like, and this role is going to have a lot of sales and going door to door. Based on what you said before and what you want to do with your life, like how do you think going door to door and like talking to people every day would really help with what you're trying to do? And a lot of students would be like, well, I want to be a lawyer. And so I guess going door to door and having all these social interactions every day would really help hone those skills of being social. So they would tell me, I knew that, like I
Yeah.
already knew that. I used to tell them, hey, you're going to be a lawyer, so don't you want to do all this stuff? I'm just phrasing it as a question, having them tell me changed everything for me. That was the
Mm.
biggest breakthrough, was
Yeah.
having someone sell themselves.
Nice. Oh, that's so smart. And I haven't been in that position of being a recruiter as well. I'm sure I'm probably going to be scaling in the future as well. So I'm going to get to the point of scaling, but I've heard the saying before. It's like hire slow, fire fast. Is that a pretty true testament? Like, have you really taken your time when hiring? Like, or did you get a good amount of competent people and have a pretty easy time in your time
It's
hiring?
never easy.
Yeah. Fair.
No, it's a good saying, and I think I definitely heard it before, and I definitely probably could have used it a lot more times. I've had problems of not firing fast enough
Yeah.
and letting things go on too long and giving people too many chances, and that's bit me in the butt a couple times, and it is what it is. But the hiring slow, fair enough, for sure. I think in my industry, because I have such a small window of like, the spring
Pun
before I had
intended.
any people. Yeah, like, yeah. You got me there. And because I had to hire actually quite quickly before the season started, I had to do a lot of volume.
Yeah.
But I did have that opinion where I did have slow. I'd have maybe 2 or 3 different interviews, right? I would
Mm.
do like a setup call, get them into not even a first interview, but into it what we called an info session. info session to me is really like a sales meeting. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand you more and then know how to sell you to this job. If I like you on the phone call, I already know I want to hire you.
Yeah.
And the other interviews are really just to make sure that my gut intention was right. Like
Ah,
there's no
okay.
kind of, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And another thing that was a really cool learning for me with interviewing and recruiting was in between, during the interviews and during the info sessions, people are really excited, they're happy, they're fired up to do this job, but in between, their excitement and enthusiasm goes down.
Mm.
And they're also getting interviews and they're also doing other things online for other job opportunities. And so if you want to get like the A talent, you got to kind of hire them, like you said, a little bit quicker,
Yep.
but you want to also keep them a little bit involved, keep their enthusiasm high. So what I would do is in between the info session and the interview 1, interview 2, is I would give them a little bit of homework. And so one of the homework I would do is I would give them a list of people that worked for me in the past 4 years. I go, hey, here's a list of people that work for me. Give 2 of them a call, have a conversation with them. And I would have like their major and like their area.
Yeah.
And so that would help too, because a lot of people that work for me are like they loved me, they had a good time, and they're happy to be on the referral list. And that really helped people stay engaged. And I also had like sometimes even I'd have them fill out like kind of a couple paragraphs of different prompts of like, why do you think you can run your own business? Like, what's your financial goals this year? Have them really think about it and framing it in a way where they're like really getting excited. Oh my God, I might be able to hit my financial goals this summer, right?
Yeah, that's so smart too. That's such a good way of keeping them engaged and excited. Have you ever lost any recruits, like someone that you really would want on your team? Yeah, all the time.
All the time. Yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes you hire someone, you're really fired up about them, and it doesn't work out. Like I remember once I was like maybe like 20, and so this is still my student franchise era. Like I hired a friend of mine to run a crew. So he had a car, he had roof racks, he had ladders. He picked up the stuff. This is midsummer too, so it's like tough. I'm already in the thick of the business. Picked up all the equipment, drives home, and then literally calls me an hour later, drives back and says, listen, I came home, my parents saw the ladders on my roof, they freaked out, and I can't do the job. So I was like, I've had things like that quick. Yeah. And I've had good candidates, that during the process, they get an offer somewhere else. And, I'm not going to stop anyone if they got the job offer of their dreams, for sure. Right. I think that part of my info sessions too, when I'm trying to sell people on the job, is I'll also be honest with them. Listen, I'm going to ask you some questions, get a sense of what you are, what you're looking for. And, I'll tell you about the job. And if we think it's a good fit, we'll move on to the next stage. But if we don't think it's a good fit, that's okay with me. This is what it's for. Right?
Yeah, that's fair. And that's such a business mindset too. It's just like you win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah, it's again numbers game, right?
Yeah,
like I think another lesson I learned too is I lost a really good employee of mine, good friend of mine, worked for me in the student business for 3 years. And when I lost him, because he was going on to do something, after he graduated, he's ready to move on to some, career stuff. I'm like, man, how am I going to, I didn't even think like, how am I going to replace this person? I was more so just like, I'm bummed out. Like I just like lost someone really good, but the real mindset should be like, how can I find another? Right.
Yeah, most definitely. In terms of the window industry and window sales, like, is your philosophy more about relationship building or really selling the product or the process? Like what's, we'll frame it, I guess, an answer for College Pro as well as Magic, like the window product itself. Like, what's your philosophy for both those careers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for College Pro, it's always about the relationship. Like I think our competitive edge was always, we're students, we're hardworking, we're going to go clean your windows, we're going to do your gutters, we're going to make it really nice, leave the home better than you found it. And the fact that we were students, that we shared our story, was really important too. Like, hey, I'm Aaron, I'm from Western University, I'm studying business, I'm doing this to learn. And everyone that worked for me was typically a student, going through university, trying to pay their way. And so that was a really cool story that a lot of people connected with. And the relationship building, you see them once, twice a year. That was really helpful for the long haul. Where it comes to Magic, when it's about window sales, I think it is more product based. And the reason why is because you're making a large investment into your home. Right? Yeah. And for a lot of people, they've never bought windows before. They usually come with the house. Right?
Yeah.
And this might be their first time. And so I try to explain to them, I do all the same relationship building, sharing my story. You have to do that. It's building rapport. It's also building that trust triangle. Yep. Right. But when it comes down to it, when they're looking at the different options that are out there, like you can really go cheap with windows. Unfortunately, there are some really garbage kind of products out there. A lot of these window companies, if you think about it, they're all selling a similar window, same glass, same screen, same crank, same hardware, same frame. And so everyone's kind of trying to, cut corners where they can, try to drive that price down, just win on price alone,
Yep.
and maybe even just rapport and relationship. But to Magic, because we're such an innovative product, they're not really like a window business. It's more like a technology business. They have 250 patents, crankless technology,
Nice.
retractable screens,
Yeah.
built-in shades and blinds. Like the kind of stuff that we're looking at is really just trying to share with a client, like, here's all the pros, the reasons why you want Magic windows versus going with the same cranks, same screens that you have now that you hate. You called me because your cranks are broken.
Yeah.
Right. Why would you replace a broken window crank with another crank? It's the same. You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me. Right?
You're right.
If you're spending tens of thousands of dollars plus, maybe a little extra to spend for the right windows that you'll never have to do again.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because, like, currently in my room, the crank on my window is broken.
So, it always breaks.
Yeah.
It always breaks. And the best part, too, is when I'm talking to clients, I tell them, like, listen, I ran a window cleaning business for 8 years, which, by the way, I sold because I loved these windows so much, right?
Yeah.
But the biggest...
Yeah, so that's really good.
And I tell them all the time, it's right. Oh, well, listen, you can clean these windows from the inside, right? Like, they're not going to need me anymore. But the funny thing is, I told them in my first summer window cleaning, I used to open up the window with the cranks. I would clean the track. I had to tell my employees after my first summer, I was 18 years old. I said, no more opening windows. I'd open up a window and I couldn't close it again. I'd be 3 stories high sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'd be on the hook. So I said, listen, and sometimes when I'm going around the house, when I'm measuring, doing the quotes for Magic Windows, I go to open up the crank and I go to, and they're like, no, don't open it. And
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm
cranks suck.
Yeah,
I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission in my life with Magic Windows to eliminate as many cranks, as many fixed bug screens as possible. That's how much I love Magic Windows. Like, honestly, like I'm on a couple of their advertisements on like Instagram and like their Facebook. I've done a few like their videos with their marketing team, and people ask me, "Oh, how much do they pay you for that?" I'm like, nothing. I just love their product that much. I'll do it again, no problem. I'm happy to. Oh, that's how much their windows are awesome.
Sweet. I know nothing about Windows or their products. And name your favorite window. Go.
Casement window? I don't know. It's kind of like, that's a hard window. It's a hard window. There's like 2 types of windows. There's casement windows, and then there's like sliding windows. Sliding windows are garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. They are the stuff that you get overseas. They're, pre-sizes, a lot of air infiltration, a lot of draft, terrible on security, super easy to break into, very annoying to clean too. You can clean them kind of easy, but they just get dirty so fast. Yeah. External screen. Anyway, so sliders are usually garbage. Casement windows are the best performing windows. These are the crank windows from other companies, right? Still got the same fixed bug screen. They're going to be the better performing, better sealing, better security, but not still that great. When you go Magic sliding windows, our sliders, they beat, in terms of security, air infiltration, and all the other metrics of performance, we beat every other company's casement windows. So the casement, the best of the best from every other company, we beat them with our sliders. Our casement windows are like, you know what I mean?
Top tier,
yeah, and so I have competition, but really I don't, because it's like everyone else is selling the same windows you have now, and you're calling me because they failed.
Yeah.
These are the one windows that really have new innovative technology. So I love Magic. I'll go to bat for them any day of the week.
Yeah, and
I would. Yeah.
No, you're right, and I feel like really like it's such a good testament when you love the product that you're selling to. It's like you really have to stand for and believe in what you're selling. Otherwise, like then it's scammy and you're selling garbage. Like when you don't believe in it, then your heart isn't in it. You're not selling the best intentions, but when you're going to bat for the company you work for and you really love the product you're selling, you're really winning. Because I feel like you really have to like get into that place to be in that position, right?
And if you're selling yourself, if you're selling services like for mortgages, like then you have to have that belief. You have to have that confidence, right? Like for me, I got really lucky because it's a strong product and I'm really kind of experienced in this industry because I've cleaned the windows like on a practicality side. But for me, it's like, I don't think I could sell a crank window and a fixed bug screen. I don't know how they do it. Yeah. Personally, to me, it's just a little bit of a rip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, right? Like Magic is typically a little bit more money than the average kind of builder grade hollow core, crank window from another company. And that's just general, right? It's a high performance window. But for the right window, for a little bit extra, it might make the most sense for most consumers. And so that's the thing. It's like, I don't think I could sell a crank window personally.
Yeah. You know what? Fair enough. Switching gears ever so slightly, what inspired you to start growing a social media presence, and like how do you envision your future with YouTube?
Great question. I think it really came down to it was the biggest thing I used to consume. Right?
Yeah,
I still do, I should say. I've always been a YouTube person. I always watched YouTube from back in the day, right?
Yeah.
A long time. And I've always kicked around the idea of making YouTube videos. During college pro era, I got really into like filmmaking. And so I would make like little movies and stuff. And I was a producer at one point. This is actually the movie over here. It
Nice.
was cool. It was a student project, right? But it was just really fun. I really do enjoy it. I did enjoy that part. And I guess for me, I wanted to make content around stuff that I really like and I enjoy watching. And so I started making business related stuff around College Pro, around running a window cleaning business, and then also now around personal development, like things that I like to do. I want to start making more videos around getting things done, which is a book I really like and really enjoyed. It's a system. And so, yeah, I just think to me, I like the appeal of YouTube where it's something that grows over time.
Yeah.
Like compounding interest, like the more that you put out, the more kind of people have a chance to find you and watch you. And so over time, it can really scale quite a bit. And I like the ability of like your community finding you, like having people that are into what you're into, like find you in some different way. That to me makes it kind of exciting. Right?
Yeah.
I get like lots of comments that are like, yeah, I really, love the video. Thank you for this. Like, can you make something like this? And I get like excited to like, yeah, I'll make a video for this one guy who commented from America. Sure.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like where, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff appeals to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. You're really accessing like a little community. And I've heard that about social media and like content creation too. It's like about building a community. And I feel like YouTube's such a strong platform and it's been around forever too. It's like, there's so many apps that have come and gone, but like YouTube's forever.
It's the second largest search platform in the world. And I don't know about you, I don't Google anything. I mainly just YouTube things. Like if I need to learn something.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I use Google and then I also use TikTok a lot now as a search engine too. Cause I find TikTok has I find their videos are so short for like the goldfish attention span that everyone has now. Whereas just like if I could Google it and there's like a very convenient 15-second video, I'm like, fuck, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah.
You know what? I've never done that. I should try. I don't think I've ever searched anything on TikTok. TikTok to me is just like this deep rabbit hole of like content. You know what I mean?
Oh,
if I want to get lost and brain rot in the bed for a couple hours, TikTok's the spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I find when I'm creating content for TikTok too, like sometimes I'm just creating like a brain rot content. I'm just saying fuck it. It's just going on there. I don't even care.
Yeah, whatever. You know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's funny too, because like I think TikTok, I had a weird relationship with TikTok and social media in general. Like I was gone for social media for like 7 years, other than like YouTube.
Yep.
But TikTok specifically, I remember like maybe a year or 2 years ago when I had it. It used to be like, I think it used to be like way worse in terms of the algorithm, because I've had a couple sleepless nights. Like I was up scrolling, I just like didn't go to bed that night. I was like, this is too much, right? And now I don't think it's as crazy, so I can kind of get off it a little bit faster. But you remember that guy? I don't know how long you've been on TikTok, but remember that guy a couple years ago that used to like every time you scroll for a long time, he used to be like, "Stop, stop scrolling.
Yeah.
You need a break." Where's that guy now?
Yeah,
he's not there
anymore. I don't know. Yeah, he's not there.
I have a conspiracy theory. They don't want me to show him anymore. You know what I mean? I keep going. He's just not coming out.
The TikTok.
I never listened to him anyways.
Yeah,
But
the TikTok CIA like broke into his house and kidnapped him. He was stopping people from using their app.
So true.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I have a good strategy, by the way. If you ever get too deep into a rabbit hole, it's a good strategy. I like YouTube Shorts too. For me, is the same way. I'm not really hooked on Reels, but YouTube Shorts and TikTok are like this.
Yep.
If you feel like, oh, I gotta go on to the next video to like actually get it, just scroll a few times, like 2 or 3 times up, and then watch the videos and then scroll back. Once you get back to where you were before you started scrolling, you won't feel like you're missing out on like the next few ones.
Yeah, fair.
It's a little bit of a brain hack. I would suggest.
No, that's really smart. I'm going to be using that from now on, because that's probably one driver keeping me from falling asleep on time. It's just having access to so much stimulus and dopamine just like right in front of my face.
I think that's my biggest problem too right now, is like overconsumption.
Yeah.
Just like watching YouTube, TikTok, like all this stuff. So I think that might be a YouTube video challenge I make, is like trying to, go on like a content diet.
Yeah, that's fair. What strategies have you been using to grow your YouTube following? Like, do you have any strategy, or are you just making videos and slapping them up there?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think the best one that for me has worked really well is just making one long form video every week. So for the last like maybe 2 months, I've actually stuck to that, except for one time I didn't make the deadline. So one long form video every week. And then because of 75 Hard and documenting that, I made one short form video every day, which is nice. It takes me 10, 15 minutes not even to make. And I've actually seen quite a bit of growth in this last couple of months. Like in the last 30 days, I was looking at it, I've done 20,000 views.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've gained 90 subscribers. So a small channel still, but it's still, that's kind of cool. I'm seeing a couple of subscribers go up every day. That's like, it's very cool. So I think consistency is the main thing that I learned, that I think is the best tip that I've heard.
And are you hoping to be monetized one day?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think I need to get 500 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. That'll be fun. I'm excited actually. I have like ideas for when I have an audience, because I think a lot of YouTubers, they sell out pretty early where they get a lot of ads,
Yeah.
and that's totally cool. Chase, get your
Yeah.
money,
Chase the
chase the
bag.
bag. Yeah, 100%. But for me, I want to keep it like as much integrity as possible. I actually wrote this out of like my monetization like thinking around it, which is any products or service that I ever do peddle, if you will, to my audience, it will always be stuff that I actually genuinely love, use,
Mm.
and believe in, and I would never do it for a one-time buyout. To me, this is a video that you're putting out there that could be on the internet for the rest of time.
Yeah.
So if I'm making an advertisement and I'm working with a brand, I don't want 2,000 of their dollars just to make a video.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I want 2,000 of their dollars, and I want a piece of everything that comes from my link,
Yeah.
because
Smart.
that video is going to grow.
Yeah.
Why would any YouTuber just take the $2,000 payout and call it a day? This is an advertisement that lives on your channel forever.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, I would only do things that I love, products I trust and support, and I want a cut of everything that I get, not just a one-time fee payment thing. I want to work with someone if
Yeah.
they're going to do it with me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that's a really good way to put it as well. Get some royalties in there for the internet's forever. That video is going to be up there forever. You might as well get a piece of it and negotiate that into the contract, right?
Yeah, and you can definitely edit after the fact. Like I've
Yeah.
done that before, where it's like, yeah, like if BetterHelp turns out to be a huge scam, which
Yeah.
apparently that was, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't want to associate yourself with that anymore. Like you could cut it out, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like I said, like that's why I got to really scrutinize the brands you'd work with.
Yeah.
So that these are strategies that I'm really far away from, because I'm not close to monetization yet. But once I'm there,
Yeah.
and once I have a little bit of momentum, these are the things I want to be working with. Like these are like these are the frames that I want to kind of hold myself to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Nice. How do you balance your sales aspect of your life as well as your content creation goals? Like, do they overlap a lot?
A ton. It
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
It sucks.
It gets
It's not good. It's not convenient. It actually sucks.
No, it's awful. Like how I see it is like my like sales position is like, this is like bread and butter. This is how I make a living. Like this needs to take priority. And then the YouTube channel is more of like a side project, like part-time. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to make this like into maybe hopefully a full-time income eventually. But I have a long time horizon for that. I'm thinking 2-3 years of consistency, 150, 200 videos, like eventually that you find an audience that you can then kind of grow a little bit easier. But to me, it's tough. Like I think making time for it, setting aside each week, okay, I'm taking this day off every week so that I can dedicate to idea generation, making, somewhat of script, outlining videos, filming, and then editing. I'm in a really bad cycle right now where it's like, I want to make a video posted every Friday.
Yeah.
So usually what happens is I'll work really hard during the week, and then Friday I'll find a video topic, and then I will make it that day, and I'll edit it that night up late at night. I'll post it to get it done. And then I go, oh, I can take a break.
Yeah.
I can be good for next week. But then the cycle keeps happening. So I need to actually build in a time of like a content day or something, like where it's like once a month where I do batch filming and editing. That's where I want to be, where I want to have videos in my queue. Right now I just make it and drop it on Friday. But for me, I wanted to like make like 2 or 3, have them like edited, finished, and then now have a backlog. That's what I really want. I'm sure you do something similar with this, which is like you kind of record a few and then you have a little bit of a backlog in case something goes wrong, right?
Oh, most definitely. And I think I was telling you before, like I started off kind of being in the cycle of like recording and then like editing and posting, and it was so stressful too. It's just such a necessary stress where recording in advance and also batching content, like I batch content sometimes on my other social medias too. It's just a lot easier for your time, and you can get a lot more done, I find, if you're in that creative mindset too. Because if you're in a rut where you're not feeling too creative or you're not having a good time getting ideas, it just drags the whole process out.
Yeah, it is tough. Like I'm finding it tough to like, have an idea every week, execute it, edit it, post it. Like these are, it's a cadence where it can really interrupt everything else.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not careful, like my Friday night, I can be going to sleep at like 3 a.m. just to like say that I got it done on Friday. And then the next morning I got to wake up and I got to do sales. And so it's like, it can impact my sales, right? You got to be well rested. You got to be, sharp. And so something that you don't want to get into that kind of dark cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to fix these habits as I go. And I keep saying I'm going to do it. But you know what, to be honest with you, I don't have a video idea for Friday.
Yep.
I'm going to make a video.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out though.
Yeah. Oh, you got some time. For people wondering, it's currently Tuesday, so He's got a couple days. Look out for Friday. We'll see. We'll see if his video's up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late night. Don't forget. All right, I gotta edit it when I'm home after working out for the second
if
time
it's
that day.
Friday at 3 a.m. and technically Saturday, it still counts as Friday because you haven't gone to bed yet.
100%.
Yeah.
You didn't go to sleep that day.
Yeah, so it
day
still
doesn't
counts.
day doesn't end until you go to sleep.
Yeah,
100%.
That's how it works. As you look ahead, how do you plan on differentiating yourself on social media and YouTube in a unique way?
That's a fantastic question. Wow. You write these questions yourself? Is it...
I don't know, man. I don't know. little
chat GPTing over there?
Me,
What's going on?
AI.
That's a great question. I think the best part for me is to try to be as genuine as possible, talk about topics that I really resonate with.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be more intentional with like letting my personality show into the content, because I think like sometimes I can have an idea and I'll just kind of say what I say. But lately I've been trying to like make it a little bit more personal, a little bit more funny, add some more stuff that I find part of my personality to show. Someone that I watch some videos sometimes is like Sam Sulik, right, where he'll just like record for like an hour and it's just him. And I really like that concept. Sorry, like Joe Rogan, he just talks for a couple hours every time, and you get to know him at a more deeper level. So I think for me, my goal for this is to differentiate, is to address and talk about topics that I think are something that I like and I enjoy, and maybe that I have some opinion to say on it. Another thing that I actually made as a rule for my YouTube channel, and who knows, I might break it in the end of the day, but I always wanted to make content around like myself and my perspective, not necessarily having to rely on like things on the outside world coming in. You know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily want to be a topic generated, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I might shout out certain things, like certain books I read, certain things, but I don't want to necessarily have to wait on something to happen to then talk about that. Like be more reactionary, I should say.
Nice.
So that's my idea.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome too. Like I'm actually on the other end of that token too, where a lot of my content, mine is TikTok, but a lot of it is related to the economy and what's going on in mortgages too, right? So I'm on the other end of that token, and I do find honestly that's sometimes like a challenge. Like I have a bi-weekly newsletter I put out every 2 weeks, and in the last 2 weeks nothing really happened. So I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to write about?
It's so true. Yeah, you're sitting there, you're just like, well, nothing really went on this week, so I guess I'll have to
I went on 3 walks this week. It's just a personal newsletter at this point. Yeah.
Well, I think like sometimes some people's content, I think it makes sense. Right? Like especially like yours, where it's like about that kind of stuff. Like you kind of do need the world to have to talk about. And for me too, it's like I do talk about things I think that I find. I'm more of like a curator, I'd say, like where it's like I find a good book that I really like, I find like a skill that I really enjoyed to learn, and then I'll try to talk about that. And so to me, it's like, it's always, no matter what, even for you, it's like always coming from your perspective.
Yeah.
So it's how you how you get it to you, but how you can show it to everyone else. And so I think that's important.
Yeah, that is definitely important. How do you stay motivated? Like you're doing a lot in sales, you're getting up, you're working on the weekends too, and you're also doing content creation. Like how are you waking up every day and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to sell my ass off, and then on top of that, every Friday at 6 p.m. you're like, oh, I'm gonna put in a video.
It's a good question. I think motivation might not be the word. I think the word actually should be discipline.
Fair.
I think motivation, it's like that. It's like that shot of coffee in the morning, and it gets you going in the beginning, but it's not enough to sustain long, consistent action. I think discipline is really like doing something that you like don't want to do, but as if you love it. Like you know what I mean. So it's like, I think for me, it all stems back to the purpose. And this is something that I think everyone needs to find out on their own. And your purpose can change over time, but it's important to have purpose. And my thought on purpose especially is because if you look around in the world, look on the earth, nothing exists in this earth without a purpose.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that you might come to the conclusion that like anything that existed without a purpose has been eliminated. And so I think a lot of times when you can get into like downward spirals in life is because you feel purposeless. And I know, at least for me personally, like in the times where it's been the darkest, has been the times where I felt like I didn't have a purpose, a Northern Star to work for. Yeah. And I think for me right now, my purpose is to become a self-sufficient man, like be as self-sufficient as possible, financially, spiritually, everything. And so to me, that means getting up early, going to work, selling my heart out for this product that I really enjoy. And along the way, I think YouTube is really an outlet creatively for me to express myself, and also to give back to everyone else along the way. right? Like what you're doing now with this podcast, right?
Yeah.
A part of it is documenting like you and the people that you meet and all the skills that they've picked up. And I think that's really beautiful because it's not just for me and you. This is a conversation that, might impact however many people.
Yeah.
And over time, who knows, right? Like after, if you put the time horizon as far out as possible, like you don't know how many people you might be interacting with.
Yeah.
Even if you help one person with their life, like that might be worth it.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing too with content around like YouTube, it's like I had 20,000 views in 1 month. A lot of it's shorts, but to me, 20,000 people, that's like a crazy number.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever.
Yeah.
What was that, like a hockey rink full of like fans?
Dude,
like
that's a concert. That's like a full concert. Yeah.
That's a great concert, right?
Yeah.
And so to think they all watched me, like maybe they watched quick and then scrolled. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But maybe one person out of that group was like, wow, I really enjoyed that video. I really got value out of it. So giving back as you go forward, I think is important. So I'm on a mission right now to be the best version of myself, become self-sufficient in every area I possibly can, so I can start a family and I can, create good things in the world. I think that's important. And along the way, I'm going to try to help out everyone else too.
Nice. Yeah, that's an amazing purpose, man. And I recently
you can steal it, take it.
I might. There's a website. I actually heard this on a podcast. Shout out Scott Pegford. It's like a website. It's called 7 Levels Deep, and it's like finding out your why. Like, why are you doing the thing you're doing? And it's the first question is like, oh, like what's your goal? So for me, it's like, oh, I want to become like a top producing mortgage agent. It's like, okay, like why is that important to you? It's like, oh, I want to be like financially free and I want to be able to like not worry about money. And they're like, oh, like why is that important for you? And like, well, I don't want to work the rest of my life. Like, and it just keeps going 7 times until like the end goal is like, oh, I want to have like a very stable financial future for me and my children, and I want to have like a very like fulfilling life where I can spend time with them and not spend the whole thing working. And I find the big why and the purpose that you're doing what you're doing is really what drives you and what dictates how hard you're going to be working, right?
That's a beautiful insight. I'll have to check that podcast out. What was his name?
Scott Peckford, and then it's a mortgage specific one, but the website it's called 7 Levels Deep.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think purpose, your why, like these things are so important, and people don't realize too. Like if you don't have one, if you don't have a why, if you don't have a purpose, someone will give it for you.
Yeah.
Someone will make you into the person that they see you as. And so I'm of the opinion of like, listen, if you're gonna become someone, make sure it's your choice, right?
Yeah.
As best as you can, right?
Oh yeah. And you really gotta like you're the driver of your own life. And like one thing I've been looking at myself too is like I'm writing my story right now. Like I'm creating what I'm going to be telling at future events and future summits is going to be like, oh, like I've done mortgages for this amount of time and I started a podcast here and I spoke to this many people and I know like this plethora of what's going on. It's just like I'm building my own story and this is what I'm reciting in the future. And that's kind of like been a big mindset shift for me. It's like I'm looking back and I'm just writing my own story. So why not write what I want to be doing, what I think will benefit me and get me to my goal and my best story in the end.
Yeah, you're in your Rocky cutscene right now, right? Like
I wish I watched Rocky to know what you're talking about, man.
No, Rocky Balboa, come on.
I know who Rocky is. I'm so bad for movies. I tell that like
enough.
My parents are immigrants. I tell everyone I was raised like an immigrant.
Right.
Yeah, in the sense where like I didn't watch The Lion King until I was like 22. And like a lot,
so no nostalgia.
Yeah, none of it. Yeah,
that was a VHS tape for me in the basement. Like,
yeah, no, like I've seen some like Disney movies, but like most of them, nah. Yeah, like I'm watching them all as an adult. No magic for me.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, like I got this from Joe Rogan too, is like you should watch your movie like as you're living it, like watch it like a documentary, right? Where it's like this is like who, if everyone's watching you do it, like what would you do, right?
Yeah.
And that's powerful stuff. It's like you're in the moment right now where you're grinding.
Yeah.
The Rocky cutscene, if you will, is when he is going and running and fighting, doing the bags, right? Like working on his stuff because he's getting that championship fight, right? And so you're in the moment right now where we're grinding, me and you both, and we got to get as hard as we can.
Oh yeah. What advice would you give someone just starting out, like your past self, or someone just going into sales now? Like how would you set them up for success?
I think that's a good question. I think keeping an open mind and just doing something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get stuck on like, at least this is, I should say, when I say a lot of people, I really should speak for me. Like I got stuck a lot on what I do now is what I am doing forever. Right. I think I didn't start I had a YouTube channel, but I didn't put any videos out for a long time because I was worried like the first video I put out is going to be what I'm now known for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Whereas and whatever job I do now is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. When it's not the case, like, especially if you're someone who's like, I want to dabble, I want to try sales. Like, sales is a great place to start because it gives you so much exposure to a lot of skills, especially like social skills. But it's not going to be that forever. Don't worry about it. Like, very rarely do you start a business and that's the business that you actually hit it big with. It's usually like a couple of businesses in, a couple of different topics in. If you're doing content like me,
Yeah.
it's going to take some time to like find your footing, find out who you are, and it's not going to be forever. And so that's totally okay. Embrace just doing something.
Yeah.
Because doing something is at least moving in some direction. Doesn't have to be the right direction,
Yeah.
right? You can always turn around, right? But you know what I'm saying? At least it's movement.
Yeah.
Doing nothing is just stagnant.
Nice.
Just doing nothing.
Yeah, that's amazing advice, honestly. It's just
Thank you. Thought about myself.
No AI needed.
Yeah.
Nice. Sweet. If we wanted to find you on YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, wherever we can find you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, just my first name, last name. So Aaron Mansoor on YouTube and Instagram. I think it's the same thing as well. So yeah, feel free to stop by, check it out. If it's not your tea, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But hey, if you like it though, hey, feel free to join the ride. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to post a video every Friday and a short form video every day, at least for 75 hard.
Nice. And then if someone wanted some windows that aren't crank windows, how can they find you there?
Yeah, Magic Windows. So ask for Aaron, or you can call me specifically, or I guess email me specifically to reach out to me. But yeah, like Aaron@magicwindow.ca is my email for work. I would highly suggest getting the Magic Windows. If you were looking, I can come give you a free quote. We do a lot of areas, mostly Southern Ontario, so feel free to reach out.
Nice. Sweet. Well, for anyone who's still listening, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please leave us a 5-star review and, a 5-star rating and a review, and then catch us in another 2 weeks for another episode. Cheers.